I am doing something that was requested a little while ago, but I had to get out my Advent calendar, and I am drinking Winter Bock. So, it is Monday the 19th, and I am several days behind on my beer calendar. I'm going to do videos this week. I'm going to release videos next week between Christmas and New Year, but I'm not going to film anything. I'm just going to go with some videos that I have. So if people are saying, hey, where's this video? Where's this video? If I didn't film it this week, then I'm not filming next week. I'm taking a little time off. So without further ado, let's go ahead and do this. This is Thomas Cochrane, Rise of Britain's Greatest Sea Captain. This was requested probably 3 weeks ago. See that? That's what happens when you thumb your nose when you're sleeping. Don't do that. Ow.
Shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Learn more about Squarespace and their offer at the end of the video.
Okay, good.
Something often forgotten, even among students of history, is that real people have often lived lives far more compelling than anything fiction has dreamed up.
Really strong.
One such man was Lord Thomas Cochrane, 10th Earl of Dundonald. Cochrane's adventures are well attested to in many sources, including his own autobiography, which we will draw on throughout this series. So
cool.
Sit back and enjoy the life of this most remarkable sailor, from a fresh-faced boy in the Scottish lowlands to a legendary admiral honoured by multiple nations.
Oh, okay.
Thomas Cochrane was born in 1775 in Ansfield, Scotland, to Anna Cochrane and the 9th Earl of Dundonald, Archibald Cochrane. The Cochranes were the direct descendants of a lowland Scottish clan, whose origins are traced to a Viking warrior from around the 9th century, and the name itself is derived from an old Gaelic portmanteau meaning the roar of battle. The Cochranes had a long history of military service to the British Empire. Members of the clan had fought and died in the War of Spanish Succession, served as loyalists during the Jacobite Rebellion, and even partook in the French and Indian Wars in the New World, and the family was affectionately nicknamed the Fighting Cochranes. From a young age, Thomas wished to add to the Cochranes' fighting legacy by joining the Navy, but against his wishes, his father had him enlisted in the 104th Regiment of the King's Army. The young Scot hated army life, particularly the rigid dress code, stating this in his autobiography: "My hair, cherished with boyish pride, was plastered back with a vile composition of candle grease and flour. My neck, from childhood open to the lowland breeze, was cased in an inflexible leathern collar." Cochrane fled back to his father, begging him to send him to sea rather than spend one more day in the army. This was the first time Cochrane showed defiance in the face of authority, and it would become a theme for the rest of his life. On July 28, 1793, Thomas Cochrane entered the Royal Navy as a midshipman. It was a position that he earned largely due to his family's influence. At 17, he was a few years older than most other
what is that? Am I thinking of the right word? Is that nepotism? I'm going to say it's pretty common. Probably could be looked at as maybe a little so today, but I would say a lot more back then. Your name carried something, and you would be overlooked because of things. Never fair, but you know, it was the life back then.
Shipman. Nevertheless, he made the most of his late start, eagerly learning every intricacy of naval life, impressing his superiors with his natural leadership abilities and voracious curiosity. Cochrane had joined the Royal Navy when trouble was brewing on the continent. The French King Louis XVI had recently lost during the Revolution, and the newly established French Republic had declared war upon monarchies of Europe that would seek to reimpose a king on them.
Poor guy, I was related to him. And they took his head. One of my videos, I'm going to do my 23andMe so people can see what I'm made up of. Bunch of mutt from a lot of places. And I got to hit the button again. Alrighty.
Thus, much of Cochrane's naval career was defined by war with the French and their Spanish allies. Cochrane spent much of his first 2 years of service on the 38-gun frigate HMS Thetis, where he was promoted to acting lieutenant. Thetis was active on the eastern seaboard of the United States, seizing American merchant ships bound for French harbors. After 4 years in North America on various vessels, Cochrane returned to Britain in 1798. By then, the European war front had become more dire. A Corsican artillery officer by the name of Napoleon Bonaparte had risen through the smoke and blood of the revolution to become a general devastating the British allies.
I've heard of him.
Bonaparte had his eyes set upon an invasion of Britain itself, and the only thing standing in his way was the Royal Navy's dominance at sea. Meanwhile, other big names among British seamen were making names for themselves, as Britain was still celebrating Horatio Nelson's victory over the French at the Battle of the Nile. This only
I was about to call him Frederick the Great, but inside I was thinking he was not a captain. I'm stupid.
Further invigorated the fighting Scot to seek out glory of his own. Luckily, Cochrane's connections in the Scottish aristocracy managed to get him appointed as an 8th lieutenant aboard the HMS Barfleur, flagship of the British fleet in the Mediterranean, captained by the acting admiral, Lord Keith. For around a year, Cochrane served as part of a fleet of 15 ships operating off the coast of southern Spain, managing to keep a fleet of 20 Spanish warships blockaded in Cadiz. Meanwhile, many of Cochrane's peers resented the...
Why were they blockading there? Oh, France. That was France's way to get out, I'm going to guess. They could go went north
relative
too.
Speed at which he had...
They could have went north too, but maybe they had ports there that came through. I'm guessing.
Had advanced in the ranks, and this enmity would soon come to a boil. The young Scot found himself butting heads with the Barfleur's first lieutenant, Philip Beaver. Supposedly, Beaver had confronted Cochrane for reporting himself aboard the ship late after a period of shore leave. Cochrane's prideful nature got the better of him, complaining that he had only been late because he had to change his muddied clothes. For quarrelling with his superior, he found himself court-martialed. He was offered an opportunity to apologize to Beaver, but refused. Nevertheless, he was still acquitted by Lord Keith, but the incident would cost him. He was now on his admiral's bad side. In January of 1800, the Mediterranean fleet was dispatched to Italy to join forces with Horatio Nelson. While ashore on Sicily, Cochrane had the opportunity to meet Britain's most famous admiral. Nelson was a celebrity, and Cochrane looked up to him. Cochrane's autobiography mentions a particularly laconic piece of advice given to him by Nelson. "Never mind maneuvers, always go at them." Cochrane would take this advice to heart. A month later, Nelson seized a squadron of French ships off Malta, and Cochrane was tasked with delivering one of the prize frigates into British hands at Fort Mahon through enemy-infested waters. A storm nearly sunk his quarry, but he prevailed. For his success, he was promoted and appointed commander of the HMS Speedy. Unfortunately, Speedy was a tiny sloop equipped with only a handful of 4-pounder cannons, which Cochrane called a species of gun little larger than a blunderbuss. Cochrane even found his new living quarters impossibly cramped, with barely room to stand straight, sit properly, or even shave. It is possible that this appointment was a form of punishment by Lord Keith, who hoped to shackle the impudent Cochrane to a small, insignificant vessel, dooming him into obscurity. If this was truly the intention, it would end up backfiring spectacularly. The path of destruction that Thomas Cochrane would embark upon commanding this vessel would be the first of many adventures that would cement him into legend.
I would think that great people are going to be great. They're destined to be great. Great people are just, it's just something in them. They're going to succeed. And this type of thing where you're going to put them in uncomfortable situations, all that does is just add fuel to their fire. I mean, I can already see something in Cochrane that I can see in someone like Teddy Roosevelt, who became vice president only because his party did everything they could to shackle him with something that they figured would ruin his career. Because vice presidents, if you're not in America, vice presidents don't do a whole lot, and they did less then as in back in those days. And McKinley's assassination brought Roosevelt up and put him on that stage, and I can see someone like Cochrane being someone who's just waiting in the wings, and no one is probably expecting that when he arrives, he's going to be ready. I can just see that now.
The journey of the HMS Speedy began on April 22nd of 1800 with an immediate success. Cochrane was a mere month into his first cruise when he captured a French privateer vessel off the coast of Cagliari. Within the next 3 months, 3 more small vessels were captured, while dozens more were harried, which put Cochrane back in the good graces of his superiors. Cochrane regarded his early conquests as modest, as he had larger ambitions. Following winter, Cochrane really began to employ his legendary cunning. His sloop had been patrolling the eastern Spanish coast for the better part of December, and on the 21st of that month came upon a vessel they perceived to be a well-laden Spanish merchant. Speedy drew closer to investigate, only for the target to raise its gun ports, revealing itself as a frigate of war. Cochrane had no intention to risk battle with a vessel far superior in firepower to his, nor was his tiny brig able to outsail the foe. Luckily, he had space and time to spare. He ordered his ship painted to resemble a Danish brig, and brought a Danish-speaking quartermaster on deck. He instructed the quartermaster to tell the Spaniards the Speedy was plague-ridden, and that spooked the frigate away.
Were they in a war with Spain at the time? I just spit. I apologize. You probably didn't see it. Was Britain at war with Spain at the time as to why they would do that? I don't remember the year, so I'm just trying to guess. And it's hard to keep up with the UK and all of their wars. It's like America now. It's hard to keep up with. I'm told, hey, did you know that we're fighting here? I'm like, didn't even know we were there.
It wouldn't be the last time the cunning commander would employ false colours, as Cochrane kept a collection of various flags aboard his ships for much of his career.
That's just smart.
The next few months
opportunity, because we have been using farmer stock for a long time.
Oh my gosh,
my wife
tell me more.
Cannot stop
Oh
talking
my gosh,
about it.
I know. I want to know
As is.
more. Tell me. Oh, well, never mind.
The next few months saw Cochrane's successes continue to pile. Capturing an armed warship is very difficult, yet Cochrane achieved that regularly. His deceptive cunning and clever use of false flags was the key to his success. HMS Speedy travelled at night and attacked at dawn. Her small size allowed her to strike fast and slip away undetected. One notable engagement saw Cochrane once more fly a Danish flag to approach a French and a Spanish brig off the coast of Catalonia. His prey never suspected a thing, and Speedy closed in for the catch, hoisting British colours and capturing both vessels and all 54 men aboard. Cochrane was now known both by his countrymen and their enemies, as his autobiography notes that Speedy's success had made him a marked object of the Spanish naval authorities. His reputation as a maverick would only grow, most notably within the gilded halls of high society. In February of 1801, the young commander purchased a ticket for a fancy ball in Malta, hosted by some aristocratic French royalists in exile. Cochrane dressed himself for the occasion in a British sailor's garb he described as honourable a character as Greek, Turkish and other Oriental disguises in vogue. Nevertheless, he was barred entry at the gates, his outfit considered too rustic. A heated argument ensued with a French officer, followed by a challenge to a duel. The following morning, the pair met with pistols in hand. Cochrane shot the Frenchman through the waist, while he himself passed unscathed. Cochrane put back to sea later that.
Duels are just the balls. Who would want to do a duel today? Would you rather have a fist fight or a duel? Oh, this gnat. Oh, this son of a bitch. I'm going to catch him and I'm going to rip his goddamn wings off. Then I'm going to find where his family is. And I'm going to have sex with his wife. Am I going to do that?
That month. It was business as usual once more aboard HMS Speedy, as it returned to harrying the vessels of Napoleon and Spain on the coasts of the Mediterranean. By the morning of May 6th of 1801, Speedy had already captured or sunk 17 vessels off the Spanish coast and was now cruising the coasts of Barcelona.
Damn.
There she came across a peculiar vessel on the horizon and tacked on the breeze to investigate. As it turned out, it was the El Gamo, a Xebec-class Spanish frigate, which likely had been deployed specifically to eliminate the menace that was Speedy. Cochrane knew his situation was dire, as Gamo was a heavy warship bearing 32 cannon and 319 crewmen.
Damn.
Speedy, on the other hand, had only 54 hands on deck and 14 cannons, which lacked power and range. Admiral Nelson's words rang true in the daring Scotsman's mind. Never mind maneuvers, always go at them. Cochrane ordered his crew to hoist an American flag and make directly for the Gamo. The Spaniards hesitated, unwilling to risk a diplomatic incident by firing on what could be a neutral vessel. This allowed Cochrane to approach so close to Gamo that he could see the whites of her crew's eyes. Speedy's yardarm locked with Gamo's rigging, and from there the jig was up, and Cochrane gave the order to let fly. The Union Jack was hoisted, and Speedy unleashed a deadly broadside cannonade at point-blank range. Her guns had been elevated and unleashed destruction upon the Spanish deck, killing Gamo's captain in the first blast. Speedy's proximity made it so her foe's cannon fired harmlessly over her short deck. Musket fire proved
it fired over the deck because they were so low as opposed compared to that one. I'm just curious why you would, I'm going to say tethered to them. Why would you risk doing that? Because if you're now going to fire on them and they sink, I guess you could cut the line. But that's ballsy. Dude had an American flag. That's crazy.
An ineffective tool as well in picking off the battle-hardened.
I'm not saying an American flag is crazy. Having all the flags and being able to say, oh, okay, seeing a flag and then throwing a new flag up to, you know, that's, I'm going to guess it was, I don't want to say common, but what am I trying to say? Is something like that frowned upon back then? You know, and I think of the war in terms, you know, when they fight battles, how it was standing not face to face, but standing, you know, facing each other, muskets pointed, and then you fire and you reload and you stand there and then they fire, and you know, that was the gentleman way. So I'm going to guess something like this is probably, oh, I hope I killed him. It's probably not a gentleman's way to, you know, put up a fake flag. But I don't know the rules, man. Okay, I apologize.
British crew. Twice the Spaniards attempted a boarding party, and twice Speedy veered out of range and fired another broadside. Cochrane soon realised it was time for the coup de grace, stating, "Our rigging being cut up and the Speedy's sails riddled with shot, I told the men that they must either take the frigate or be themselves taken." And so, Speedy once more latched onto Gamo, and Cochrane and his crew blackened their faces with soot so as to appear more terrifying. From there, the British boarded the frigate from the bow and stern, a fierce melee of pistols, axes and cutlasses ensuing with...
I just want to say, they blackened their face. I mean, come on. Thomas Cochrane and his crew doing blackface, it's inappropriate in today's world. I understand why they did it. Yeah, I would have done it too.
Cochrane at the centre of it all. Always a quick thinker, The daring commander ordered his men to haul down the Spanish flag flapping over the mainmast. This was a brutal strike to Spanish morale, for they now believed their officers had given up the ship and laid down their arms to surrender.
Oh, so they surrendered.
Gamo was taken as a prize and sailed to Fort Mahon. Following that, Speedy continued upon its cruise of destruction. By July of 1801, she had captured, sank or ran aground a mind-boggling 53 enemy ships, becoming the scourge of the Mediterranean.
Holy
And
shit!
yet, all things must come to an end. In the end, it took 3 massive French ships of the line bearing over 70 guns each to capture the tiny sloop, cornering her off the coast of Alicante.
No!
Cochrane was taken aboard one of the warships, Dessay, and presented his sword to the captain. The French...
If this son of a bitch somehow does some kind of ninjutsu, takes over their ship, and then uses their ship against the other ships, I'm going to stop the video and I'm no longer doing things. I quit YouTube, period. Unless he does it, then I take back what I said. Still amazing though.
Frenchman declined out of respect for his foe, saying he would not take the sword of an officer who he had for so many hours struggled against impossibly. Cochrane's...
I always find that very respectful when they don't take the sword or the pistol, something like that. I always, and if I'm in that situation, I would probably decline it too, just out of respect for, I understand this person was trying to kill me, but it is war, and I would probably, because they surrendered, as a sign of respect back to them for surrendering and not killing any more of my people and any more of their people, I would probably decline the weapon, the sword, or the pistol, just as a show of respect. Thank you for ending the battle, and now we can both move on. This net.
Captors treated him with kindness, and the Scotsman in particular notes the French admiral Charles-Alexandre Linois, who held him in high regard and often asked him for nautical advice. Cochrane witnessed the British defeat at the Battle of Algeciras from the deck of the Dessay before he was eventually released in a prisoner exchange and sent to Gibraltar. The cruise of the Speedy was now over. If Cochrane's 13-month voyage of conquest aboard the sloop was his only life's accomplishment, that would still have been remarkable.
Yeah.
But the Wolf of the Sea was far from done. Thanks to Squarespace for...
Okay. That was not me. That was you. You pig. Irish Red Ale now. I'm on 6% alcohol. Irish Red Ale, product of the U.S. Go figure that one out. Back to you in the studio. That doesn't mean anything. All right, I'm gonna back to you in the studio. Wow. All right, I'm gonna end this here. God damn it! I just happen to look on the box and I see a winter porter, but I see a cranberry wheat ale. I haven't tried those yet. Please don't end on a winter porter. I had a pumpkin spice last week. It was delicious. The porters. Ugh, I'd rather have a homeless person shit in my mouth. It's not true. Yeah, maybe it is. All right, I'm going to end this video here, and I'm going to jump right back into number 2 with my Irish Red Ale that is somewhere around here. It's about half full. I've been drinking a little too fast. It's okay. It was a great day. So I'm going to end this here. Like and subscribe. Or Greg told me he's going to nude dance for everyone. And Greg Messick and his nude dancing, I don't know if you've seen it. The man likes, I mean, look, he loves to be nude. That's all he does. He just, give him your phone number. He'll send you nude pictures. I gave him my phone number twice. What?